He told me I was selfish, while standing on the dock of the lake house I paid for, and that was just the beginning. I started thinking about when it all began. The sun hadn't even dipped below the trees, and already the air was thick with unspoken accusations. My father stood with his arms crossed, one foot resting on the cooler like a general surveying a battlefield. His voice didn't rise, it never had to. It landed like lead, and everyone listened. "Look around, Matthew," he said, gesturing toward the house, the deck, the boats bobbing silently. "You think all this makes you the hero?" My fingers tightened around the plastic cup. Lemonade, warm. I hadn't touched the whiskey, not yet. "No one's asking for a hero," I said. "Just some respect." That set something off. He took a step closer, and for a second, I saw the old version of him, the one who used to loom in doorways, pointing out every flaw in my school projects. "You want respect?" he snapped. "Try being here more, not just throwing money at things." I felt my sister's gaze before I saw her. She was by the grill with Mom, silent, but her eyebrows said it all. "Don't ruin this weekend." Mom didn't look at me. She was brushing something onto the ribs, something sweet, glazed, like her expression. "I pay the property taxes," I said quietly. "I covered the new roof. And I sent you $12,000 last year when the plumbing—" "We didn't ask for that," Dad interrupted. "You just did it. That doesn't buy gratitude." The silence that followed was complete. Even the cicadas stopped. It was the kind of moment that burns a scar in your memory, even as it's happening. And in that silence, something snapped. Not with sound, but with finality. Later that night, after they'd gone to bed and the lake was black glass, I sat in the office. The old one with the tax folders from 20 years ago. I needed a charger. Instead, I found a binder. Marbled cover. My name wasn't on it. I opened it anyway. First page, trust documents. Second page, distributions. Annual, substantial. Her name. Repeated. Over and over. I blinked. The air suddenly felt thin, like I'd risen too fast. Alexandra Lane Patterson, primary beneficiary. It didn't make sense. They always said money was tight, that I had more, so it made sense for me to help. The handwriting in the margins was my mother's, dates, confirmations. Transferred. Approved. Talked to Alex about taxes. I closed the binder. I sat there a long time. Next morning, I didn't mention it. I made coffee. I let Dad take the last pancake. I even smiled at Alex when she came down in that sweatshirt from Cornell I'd paid for. But something had changed. Not rage, not sadness. Something worse, clarity. What else had they lied about? And how long had I been funding a story that was never mine? I watched her laugh over scrambled eggs and bacon like nothing had happened, like the trust fund didn't exist, like I hadn't just discovered that for the past decade, my entire role in this family had been a lie. They were sitting on the porch when I came out. Dad in his usual chair, sunglasses on, coffee cup resting on his stomach like a trophy. Mom trimming dead flowers from the railing planters. Alex beside her, scrolling through her phone. She looked up. "You're up early." I nodded. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." Dad didn't even glance at me. "You should cut back on the caffeine." It took effort not to laugh. I leaned against the post and watched the lake, flat, motionless, a picture-perfect lie. "Big meetings next week?" Mom asked. "Some," I said. "Might be restructuring a few things." Alex looked up. "You okay?" That almost broke me. Her tone, genuine concern, soft, sisterly. Like we were still kids in the same boat, paddling in sync. Like I hadn't just found out she was living on a silent engine while I rode until my arms bled. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just thinking." And I was. Thinking about how long they'd kept it hidden, about the birthdays where I gave her checks because she was struggling, the rent I paid for her first apartment, the car, the vacations, all while she was drawing from a fund I didn't even know existed. Was she lying too? Or was she just comfortable not asking questions? Later that afternoon, I went for a walk. Down the old path to the canoe shed. The trees were closer now, the trail narrower, everything tighter. I called my accountant. Voicemail. I called my lawyer. Picked up on the second ring. Matthew? Quick question, I said. Hypothetical. He exhaled. Those are my favorite. If someone, say, a family, were hiding a trust for one sibling without informing the other, even while asking the uninformed sibling to support them financially. Go on, he said. Would that be considered fraud? A pause. Not necessarily. Depends on the setup. Who created the trust? Who manages it? Was there any contractual obligation to disclose? I don't know yet. You want me to find out? Number not yet. I hung up before I said something emotional. The wind moved through the trees like it was whispering things I couldn't quite hear. That night, after dinner, I offered to help Alex with dishes. She looked surprised but handed me a towel. You sure you're okay? She asked again. You've been off. I dried a glass slowly. I found something in the office. She froze. What do you mean? A binder, with your name and numbers. Silence. Then, oh. I turned to her. Just, oh? I thought you knew, she said. Her voice was soft now. Guilty? Maybe. Knew what? That Dad set that up for me after college, to make up for, them helping you with school. I stared at her. They didn't help me. I had loans. I paid them off myself. Her lips parted, then closed again, like a door locking from the inside. I didn't know that, she whispered. Neither of us moved, the sound of the dishwasher humming behind us. I thought, she said, then stopped. I just assumed they were being fair. I laughed once, sharp and joyless. They were never fair. You just never had to ask. I walked out before she could answer. Outside, the stars were too bright, too many, the night pressing in. It's not just about the money, I thought. It's about being erased. They'd built a version of me, the stable one, the provider, the outsider, and kept feeding it until even I started to believe that was all I was worth. But now I'd seen behind the curtain, and I couldn't unsee it. I started small, not out of fear, out of calculation. First, I stopped the automatic transfers, the ones I'd set up years ago, like some self-imposed tax, utilities for the lake house, groceries on my card, emergency fund in their savings, all gone with 3 clicks. Then I pulled up the last 5 years of bank statements and started marking every family expense, red ink for direct payments, blue for indirect, gifts, travel, repairs. The total was obscene. I didn't call anyone. I didn't warn. I just paused the machine and waited. 3 days later, I got the first text. Mom, 7:42 a.m. Water bill bounced. Everything okay? I didn't respond. At 9:10, Dad called. I let it ring. By lunch, Alex sent a voice note. Hey, I think something's going on with the house stuff. Let me know if you need help. I stared at the message for a long time. Help. It was the first time she'd used that word toward me in years. That night, I had dinner with an old college friend, Ian, now a forensic accountant. He always ate like he was still in finals week, fast, distracted, analytical. Let me get this straight, he said between bites. You were paying for everything, while they maintained a trust for your sister. In secret? I nodded. And now you want to go public? Not yet, I said. I want to understand the full picture first. Legally, emotionally, strategically. He smirked. You sound like you're planning a corporate takeover. I might be. He tapped the table with his fork. Then treat it like one. Isolate the assets, map the control structure, and document everything. I did. Over the next week, I built a folder, scans of receipts, transcripts of old emails, even a screenshot of a 2018 message from Mom asking if I could cover just a little more this month, because Alex is still finding her feet. That year, I'd paid her rent and her therapy bills. I never questioned it. Now I couldn't stop questioning anything. I called the trust office, pretended to be inquiring as a potential client. Just wondering, I said, in a family trust, do all siblings typically have equal access? The advisor on the phone hesitated. Depends, but if they're beneficiaries, yes, unless one was designated differently. What if the trust was created without informing the other siblings? That's uncommon. Not illegal, but uncommon. I thanked her and hung up. Later, I visited my parents' accountant under the pretext of estate planning. He smiled too much, talked too fast, wouldn't look me in the eye when I brought up family trusts. Your father's quite organized, he said. Very structured. Structured enough to hide $500,000? The smile froze. I wouldn't know. I leaned back. But you suspect? He didn't answer. I didn't need him to. I left with a business card I'd never use and a confirmation I'd already known. On the train ride back, I stared at the reflection in the window. My jaw looked tighter, my eyes unfamiliar. I'd become someone else in the last 10 days. Not colder, not crueler, clearer. At home, I stood in front of the mirror for 10 minutes. Then I recorded a voice note for Alex. I want to talk, I said. Face to face, no parents, no stories, just the truth. I hit send. If she responded, I'd know where she stood. And if she didn't, well, I was already preparing for war. We met at the cafe near her office, neutral ground, as she put it. Wide windows, pale wood, soft jazz. Everything designed to calm you down. I didn't sit. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Alex looked up slowly. No makeup. Nervous fingers on her cup. I didn't know how. You didn't know how to tell me our parents built you a secret trust while I was funding their lives? People at nearby tables looked up. I didn't care. Keep your voice down, she whispered. Why? So we don't ruin the illusion? She stood. Let's go outside. We walked to the alley behind the cafe, past the dumpsters and cigarette butts. Cleaner than what I was about to say. They made me believe I was chosen, she said quietly. That it was my burden, my future to protect. That you didn't need it. I laughed. Not loud, just once, sharp. I didn't need it because I was it. I became the trust. She flinched. That's not fair. No, I said. It's accurate. Silence stretched between us. A few gulls cried somewhere over the rooftops. I asked Dad once, she said finally. Why not both of us? You know what he said? I didn't answer. He said, Matthew will never need protecting. He's already built armor. I felt my fists clench. That armor cost me everything. She looked away. I didn't expect an apology, and she didn't give one. I left first. Back at the lake house, the silence was worse. Dad was in the shed, fixing something that didn't need fixing. He didn't look up when I walked in. I talked to Alex. She told me, he said, calm, too calm. I'm pulling out, I said. All of it. No more payments, no more support. He set the wrench down with a metallic clink. That would be a mistake. I stepped closer. It's already done. He looked up slowly, finally meeting my eyes. We did what was best for the family. I laughed. Number you did what was easiest for you. Alex needed help. So did I. You never asked. I shouldn't have had to. A long pause. Then he said it. That one line that broke everything. You've always been more useful this way. I stared at him. The silence roared in my ears. The words landed like gunfire. Not loved, not valued, useful. A crack formed deep inside me, one I couldn't plaster over anymore. I turned and walked out. That night, I packed my things. Every drawer, every closet, 37 years of family loyalty, zipped into 2 suitcases. Mom came into the room as I zipped the last one. You're overreacting, she said softly. No, I said. I'm finally reacting. She stepped closer. This family needs you. Then it should have treated me like family. Her eyes welled up. I waited for tears to move me. They didn't. At the door, she said, If you leave like this, it won't be the same. I looked back once. That's the point. In the hotel room that night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the AC, the emptiness. And something broke. Not with noise, with silence. I buried my face in the pillow and let it happen. Not tears, a shudder, a full body unraveling. As if the scaffolding that had held me upright my whole life had finally collapsed. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was nothing. Just a hollow echo of someone who'd believed in a lie for too long. And in that nothingness, a voice inside me whispered, Maybe you were never their son, just their sponsor. I didn't go home. I couldn't. Instead, I checked into a short-term rental in the city, a sparse, silent apartment on the 22nd floor. No photos, no memories, just glass, metal, and the low hum of traffic far below. Every morning, I made coffee and stared out over rooftops, trying to understand how it had gotten this far. Every night, I laid awake with my phone in hand, rereading messages from Alex, from Mom, none from Dad. Then, on the 6th day, I got the email. Subject, property, urgent. It was from a lawyer I didn't recognize. Inside, attached documents, title transfers, asset logs, an appraisal of the lake house dated 3 months ago. They were preparing to sell it, without telling me. I opened the PDF page 2, my name, listed under non-owner contributor. I laughed, loud, ugly. I'd poured over $100,000 into that place. I'd bought the dock, the generator, even the damn mailbox. And in the end, I was just non-owner. I forwarded the email to Ian. Me. You said to isolate the assets. They're moving them. He called within the hour. Matt, you need to file an injunction, today. I don't want to go legal. You're already in legal. You just haven't picked up your sword yet. I closed my eyes, exhaled. Then I said it, slowly, deliberately. Let's draw blood. At the courthouse, it felt surreal. I wore the same suit I'd worn to their anniversary dinner last year. The one where I toasted them with words I didn't believe. Where Dad smiled like a king and Alex took selfies with the cake. Now I stood in line behind strangers, filing to protect myself from my own family. Ian met me on the steps. You okay? No, I said, but I'm ready. We filed. Emergency stay on property transfer, disclosure request on trust documentation, preliminary audit on family assets. Within 2 hours, my parents' lawyer had called him, screaming. Within 2 days, Dad emailed me directly. Subject, you've made your point. 3 words. That's all. The next week, I got a message from someone I hadn't expected. A woman named Carol. She used to work for my parents, their bookkeeper in the early 2000s. Fired quietly after a conflict, according to Mom. Now she'd seen the headlines. Well, not headlines, but enough. A whisper online. A local business update. property filing anomalies. She reached out through LinkedIn. I remember you, she wrote. You were always polite and tired. We met in a quiet diner outside town. She brought a folder. Inside, copies of old ledgers, handwritten notes, one labeled Matt's Tuition with a red question mark beside it. Another, Transfer to AP, hush hush. She looked at me across the table. They used you, and not just financially. They built their narrative on your reliability. Why now? I asked. She hesitated. Because I saw what they did to you, and I waited too long to speak last time. I left with the folder and a new target. This wasn't just about my family anymore. It was about the story they'd sold everyone, about the golden child sister and the stoic, successful brother, about a legacy of fairness. But legacies are built on truth, and I was done letting lies pay the mortgage. That night, I updated the file, added Carol's notes, labeled everything. Then I wrote a letter, not to them, to every extended family member who still believed the old myths, aunts, cousins, friends of the family, attached, evidence, and one line at the end. If you still believe I'm just angry, read this and ask yourself why they never told me. I hit send. No going back. The invitations went out on a Thursday. Subject line, family brunch, updates and discussion, sent from a neutral email. Location, the back room of a local restaurant. Private, quiet. I booked the whole floor. I signed the email simply, Matthew Patterson agenda attached. Inside, bullet points, polite but firm. Estate transparency, trust clarification, asset contributions and future expectations. 23 invites, 18 confirmed, including Alex, not my parents. They didn't reply. The morning of the brunch, I stood outside the restaurant in a navy blazer, holding a folder thick with documentation. Ian arrived first, then Carol, then my cousin Jenna, arms crossed, expression unreadable. By noon, the room was full of soft murmurs, stiff hugs, and plastic smiles, the kind families wear when something is about to explode. I waited until everyone had coffee. Then I stood. I appreciate you all being here. I know this isn't how we usually spend a Sunday. Silence. I held up the folder. For years, I supported this family financially, willingly, because I believed in a shared struggle, a common purpose. Eyes shifted, murmurs stilled, but that story wasn't true. I opened the folder. This, I said, pulling out the trust summary, is a document I wasn't meant to see. It outlines a financial structure built entirely for one person, my sister. While I was told there was nothing, that help was needed, that I had to step up. Some gasped. Jenna leaned forward. An uncle coughed. I don't blame Alex, I added. I believe she was told stories, too. Alex shifted in her seat, but said nothing. What I do blame is the system, the one they built, the one that taught me my worth was measured by what I could give, not who I was. I paused, and I've decided I won't fund a lie anymore. I handed out printed packets, every page stamped, dated, sourced. I'm not asking for support, I said. I'm offering the truth. What you do with it is yours. I sat. For a moment, nothing, just the sound of a fork dropping. Then Jenna spoke. I always wondered why you looked so tired at those dinners. I nodded. An uncle, Dad's older brother, cleared his throat. Did your parents ever explain why? They didn't think they had to, I said. And finally, Alex spoke. I didn't know the full picture, she said quietly. But I let myself not know, because it was easier. She turned to me. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. Afterward, people stayed behind. Some hugged me, some avoided me. Carol gave me a quiet nod. Ian patted my back. And Alex? She waited until the room was almost empty. Then she stepped beside me. I talked to a tax attorney, she said. I'm dissolving part of the trust, paying back what I can. I'm adding your name to the house title. I looked at her. Really looked. I'm not doing this for absolution, she added. I'm doing it because it's finally making me sick. Living like that. For the first time in months, I believed her. But belief wasn't the same as repair. Send me the paperwork, I said. We'll go through it together. She nodded, then left. That night, I walked through the city alone. Lights glowing off windows, people laughing outside bars, life moving forward. And me, no longer their provider, their fixer, their invisible bank account. Just a man, with his own name, his own rules. I stopped on a bridge and looked down at the river. It didn't roar, it flowed. And I realized this wasn't the end of a war. It was the start of sovereignty. The hearing was set for Tuesday morning, probate court. Nothing dramatic, just a formal review of property rights and financial disclosures tied to the lake house. But everyone came. Uncles, aunts, even second cousins who hadn't shown up for birthdays in years. Word had spread, and they were curious, not just about the money, but about the fracture, the myth unraveling. Alex arrived alone, carrying a black briefcase and no makeup. Her hair pulled back, expression clean. She nodded at me once. I nodded back. Mom sat 2 rows behind her, jaw tight, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Dad didn't come. I'd expected that. We took our seats as the judge entered, a small man with sharp glasses and an expression that said he'd heard it all before. He began the session with routine language, docket numbers, legalese. Then, we are here to determine financial equity in a jointly utilized asset, based on petition filed by Matthew Patterson, in context of prior family trust allocations. Eyes shifted to me. I stood. Your Honor, I have documented contributions to the lake house over a span of 12 years, including taxes, renovations, and maintenance, totaling approximately $143,000. None of these were reimbursed or formally acknowledged. The judge raised an eyebrow. And your claim is that this warrants shared ownership? Yes, sir, at minimum. He turned to Alex. You are listed as sole beneficiary of the trust which owns the property. Do you dispute the petitioner's account? Alex cleared her throat. No, Your Honor. In fact, she opened the briefcase and pulled out a file. I've initiated the paperwork to split the ownership. I want it on record. The courtroom murmured. The judge took the file, flipped through it. This is unorthodox, he said, but not unkindly. He paused. Why now? Alex glanced at me, then back at him. Because the story we were told wasn't true, and I won't build a future on a lie. My mother exhaled sharply behind us. The judge nodded slowly. Very well. We'll note the intent and proceed with formal filings. He banged the gavel once. Next case. It was over in 12 minutes. 12 minutes to end 12 years of imbalance. Outside, the sky was painfully blue. Photographers from a local paper stood across the street, pretending to check their settings. I stepped aside to call Ian. It's done, I said. You win. Not a win, but something better. What's that? Balance. I didn't expect what happened next. At the bottom of the courthouse steps, someone stepped in front of me. A man, 60-ish, trim, familiar. My Uncle Brian, Dad's younger brother. We should have said something, he muttered. Years ago, we all knew how it worked. I looked at him. Why didn't you? He sighed. Because they were louder, and we didn't want to be the bad guys. You were still complicit. I know. Then he said the only thing that surprised me more than the apology. You're not alone anymore, Matthew. He walked off before I could answer. At the next family gathering, a cousin's graduation party, everything was different. People approached me quietly. Some offered support. Some avoided eye contact. No one joked about Matt the Money Man. And when my parents arrived late, walking like ghosts, the room didn't revolve around them anymore. It didn't revolve around anyone. It just stood. And for the first time in years, so did I. Alex came over near the end. "You still hate me?" she asked lightly. I shook my head. "I'm just learning how to love with boundaries." She nodded. "That's harder." I didn't disagree. Before she left, she pressed a folded sheet into my hand. A receipt. Wire transfer. $72,000 to my name. Labeled, Restitution. Phase 1. No note, no signature, just action. The only language that mattered anymore. She stepped out of the bank holding the envelope, saw me, and looked down. I got in the car, and didn't roll down the window.